Alright everyone, we start off today talking about Twitter Files Part 3. By the way, I will vouch for Douwe Egbert's coffee in a French press. It is definitely better than Nescafe. It's also stronger. Yeah. I missed having my morning clank coffee time as I was slugging down energy drinks. But I was getting dangerously close to the point at which I'm going to end up pissing rocks from my penis, so, I figured that I would throttle back. Link in the description. This is from Taibbi, again, these releases. These are more significant even than the other day. The other day, of course, we got evidence of shadow banning, deliberate attempts to sabotage content creators on Twitter. I'm sure this happens on other platforms. That's big news. That's a doozy. This is a double doozy. It turns out, yeah, Trump was actually right all the time. He was right after all. He was targeted deliberately before J6, to be clear, by the Twitter people. Partially in collusion with the DHS and FBI, which were openly meeting with people at Twitter on a regular basis. Now, part of that we already knew. We knew the meetings had been going on. They do this with Meta as well. Zuckerberg pointed that out on his Joe Rogan appearance, actually. That was, I think, a couple of months ago at this point. It happens, I'm sure, with Google, with Apple, with other sites. I'm sure that it happens with Amazon, although, again, for some reason, Amazon is usually looked at as the boogeyman in the room with big tech, but they've been the most reluctant, I think, actually, to censor people for some time now until Musk's takeover at Twitter. It looks like we're at that bizarre stage where outside of new tech, like, BitChute, Rumble, Substack, places like that, outside of new tech, the people that are defending free speech, at least somewhat, are Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, an African-American immigrant acquiring Twitter, and fucking Jeff Bezos. Those are our champions at some point with the tech revolution. Yeah, we are definitely the colonials in this particular struggle. We're at Valley Forge right now, and it's really cold, but hopefully we'll get more provisions and hold up through the winter. Again, check this link. It's a multi-thread, so it's, I think, about 30 posts long. Tim Pool pointed out something the other day. He said that they should release everything all at once, and that the trickling out of the Twitter files was a bad idea. While I like Tim, I have to disagree vehemently with his assessment on this one, and agree with people who think that this is a good strategy. Recall Snowden and the NSA. The whole point of leaking the material out slowly in batches with single issues at mind is for the lame establishment, the legacy media, Twitter's old staff who have all been fired. Bye-bye, learn to code. Oh wait, you already do? Find a different job in Silicon Valley. There are plenty of other companies that are censorious and want pink-haired freaks that do nothing useful for society. If you look at that, the whole point is to release material. People start talking about the material. A handful of people will question the Biden admin or Twitter staff or whatever. They will deny that any shenanigans are going on, and then you release material that shows that they lied. This is the Snowden strategy at play. I happen to agree with the basic premise. It's working already. You've got Karine Jean-Pierre, there, the White House press secretary, already tying a noose around her neck practically with her own lies with regards to the Twitter leaks, refusing to ask questions because the questions cannot be answered without implicating the administration, without implicating the FBI in directly colluding with a tech firm, a supposedly private firm, to abuse a sitting president of the United States, and it took place before J6. Whoops, that's a big one. There's your triple doozy of the day. There's your smoking gun. These people were in communication with Twitter staff regularly. Two big names, Yoel Roth, who is out, of course. He was, I think, head of security at Twitter, if I remember correctly. And Vijaya Gad, I'm probably mispronouncing that name. She's sort of become the whipping boy of the former Twitter cabal. I think Yoel Roth had just as much of a role, though. Gets more derision, perhaps, but isn't seen quite as like a traitor to free speech or anything as much as Vijaya is. I think that they both share blame, to be clear. If you go through these, though, I mean, it's wild. Let me read some of these out myself. Number 6. As soon as they finished banning Trump, this is post J6 non-insurrection, Twitter execs started processing new power. They prepared to ban future presidents and White Houses, perhaps even Joe Biden. The new administration, says one exec, will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary. Apparently absolutely necessary, though, is a low threshold because all that has to have happened is that fans of a sitting president have to have gotten violent. That's what happened on J6. A bunch of people broke off from the main crowd, which was just parading around and hearing Trump speak. They entered the Capitol. It was largely a peaceful affair. Most people there don't face any charges at all. Thousands of people enter the Capitol. Only a few hundred of them face anything beyond mere trespass or vandalism. Most people didn't hit a cop. Most people didn't throw the bottle. Most people didn't poop in the in the benches behind Congress. Honestly, probably improved the smell. Can you imagine how boozy it smells in the halls of Congress, in the Senate chambers or whatever? Can you imagine how much whiskey and shit they probably found in the congressional offices when they were sorting through Nancy Pelosi's paperwork? I'm surprised they didn't find her vodka storage. Guarantee that it's imported, by the way. Jesus Christ. Number 7, Twitter execs removed Trump in part over what one executive called the context surrounding actions by Trump and supporters over the course of the election and, frankly, the last 4+ years. So this isn't just a stink piece about J6. It's, hey, Donald Trump has been pushing the envelope for years now. Let's shit-can him. In the end, they looked at the broad picture, but that approach can cut both ways. The bulk of internal debate leading to Trump's ban took place in those 3 January days. However, the intellectual framework was laid in the months preceding the Capitol riots. And that is what it is. But by the way, J6 was a riot. To be clear, it was not just a peaceful protest. Charges should be forthcoming on many of those people. Trespass, vandalism, simple assault. It's just that it wasn't an insurrection. To be clear, there was no insurrection on J6. There was no attempt to overthrow the government. People hyperbolically chanting hang Mike Pence or whatever outside aside, that didn't actually escalate into a scenario where there was any real danger to the government. If they had gotten into the congressional chambers, probably they would have acted like the BLM protesters that invaded the Senate chambers several years before, and then all of the members of Congress knelt beside them and prayed and said, oh, we listen to your struggle, we think kindly upon you. You'll notice that none of them ever faced any charges. There's number 16. The latter group were a high-speed Supreme Court of moderation, issuing content rulings on the fly, often in minutes, and based on guesses, gut calls, even Google searches, even in cases involving the president. So an unaccountable council of grand poobahs at Twitter made this decision. It wasn't even a normal moderation decision. It was an oligarchic council of sorts that they set up there, including Yoel Roth, of course. This is number 20. This post about the Hunter Biden laptop situation shows that Roth not only met weekly with the FBI and DHS, but with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. And it goes on and on and on, and you can read through the releases. Again, link in the description. I'm not going to archive it because it's in no danger of being removed, because it's at the behest of Elon Musk, who happens to run Twitter. This is concerning. Such a measure should not exist. The action should not have been taken. Trump should not have been banned. Nobody should have been banned off of Twitter, pertinent to what went on. By the way, get Nick Fuentes back on the site. At this point, I think the dude fucking hates me and people like me, but he has a right to use Twitter. He didn't involve himself with an insurrection or anything like that. He was investigated by the goddamn feds because he talked about it, I think. He had some sort of other event going on. He wasn't in the Capitol that day or anything like that. Everyone should be brought back to Twitter. Still waiting on Stefan Molyneux, by the way. Just to be clear, I think Elon Musk will go to a 9.5 out of 10 as the CEO and leader of Twitter once Molyneux gets back on the platform. This should not have happened. That's number 1. It's very concerning, number 2. At the very least, it comes way up against the edge of the First Amendment, number 3, when the government agents are colluding directly with a supposedly private network to deprive a platform in the modern public square, of which Twitter is part. It's basically a triopoly at this point. That at the very least runs up brazenly against the First Amendment, if not outright obliterates it. The idea that these agents would be able to exercise influence over a private platform for political reasons, which is what happened, is concerning. I would note The main cope of the day, the main propaganda of the day is, well, Trump was president at the time. This has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Yeah, Biden's team has no influence whatsoever politically before he was sworn in that interim period. Of course not. It never happened. The DHS and the FBI are totally non-political. We have never seen instances of politicized behavior among their agents. Just ignore Lisa Page and Strzok and basically everyone else in the FBI and DHS. Just ignore them. There are no people appointed to positions there by politicians who have partisan political leanings, including goddamn Republicans, including goddamn MAGA Republicans. Now everything's perfectly fine. This behavior should not be happening, to be clear, and this is somehow even worse than the fact that Twitter has been called out now as of yesterday for brazenly lying about shadow bans. This is another Christmas present early. Elon Musk is doing a goddamn advent calendar at this point. I'm sure they're sorting through the info. This is not going to be the last Twitter Files release, although so far it's definitely the most concerning. Day one, we get a broad overview, giving us some hints about what's to come. Day two, we find that shadow banning is real, algorithmic demotion and distortion is real. The conspiracy theorists among content creators were correct about that. And you have all of the cope, of course, on that subject. Now we find that the government was directly involved. Do you really think that there's anyone in any federal bureau who doesn't have any political views at all? Why do you think they're appointed to their roles? It's because of their political views. It's a whole fucking problem. They shouldn't be in any coordination with these private sites except to remove illegal content. You know, child abuse imagery and stuff like that, or bots that are clearly being run by China or something. Xinhua News should lose 2/3 of its goddamn followers on the platform, bare minimum. Guarantee there's a lot of botting going on there. Focus on that. Conform to 230. The spirit of that is that you're moderating illegal content and spammy content, not banning the President of the United States, still in office at the time, on the spurious notion that he tried to overthrow the U.S. government and install himself as a dictator. It was never true to begin with. It's always been hyperbolic horseshit, and it always will be. That's about all. Peace out.